They say a man is assayed by the company he keeps. And in this series of interviews, we intend to ascend into the flame-wreathed heights of preeminence in the Great Designers series. So, I'm very excited today. I am sat in the virtual living room with the designer of what is possibly my favourite game. I am here with the exceptionally talented Cedrick Chaboussit, designer of Lewis & Clark, Discoveries and many other games. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, you're welcome, Ben. Thank you.
So, first question, I want to focus on Lewis & Clark, really, for this. And so, first question is, why Lewis & Clark? How was the idea for the game originated?
Yeah, first I want to thank you with the nice things you just said about the game. It's very nice. For coming back to the original idea of Lewis & Clark, I really like the games of Uwe Rosenberg. I had an idea at one moment, and I like also all the card games. I'm a gamer myself. I've been a gamer for many years, like all the listeners of your podcast are, and so I like games a lot. And the Uwe's games gave me the idea to use usually to trigger an action on the board. You need a meeple, so it's the meeple that triggers the action basically. And I had the idea to use the cards, 100% cards at the beginning, and saying, okay, it's a meeple that triggers a card that triggers a card. Okay, so that's where came the idea of flipping the card over and associating the two cards. It went quite fast in maybe 3 or 4 months. I had an entire game based on that. It was called The Village. It was a French village in the beginning of the 20th century, and the common board was the village with the mill and the church and so on. Very dull story, I would say. And I took some illustrations on the internet, so it was not very sexy, but it worked. I felt the game could be nice. It was in the beginning of 2012, basically, and I started to design game only two years before that, because I stopped playing basketball for a team. It took me some time, so when I stopped, I said, okay, I love board games, so I will try to design some as a hobby to get
fill in the time.
Some occupation. Exactly. I participated twice, because in France the hobby is getting bigger and bigger, and you have many designing competitions around France, many conventions, and so I participated twice to a local convention which is called Flip in Parthenay. This time, when I finished this prototype, I said, okay, there is a convention in Toulouse in the south of France with some designers tables, and I said, okay, I've got an interesting game, so let's try something else and go somewhere else. So I went there. I just subscribed at the very last moment, and I had a table, and so I went there, and on the first Friday, there was the funny thing is that I had a local friend that was doing he was writing in a gaming magazine called Plateau at the time, and he asked me, oh, can you grab for me a prototype from Ludonote? They're going to Toulouse. I know you're going to Toulouse, so meet them and get the game for me so I can make a review. So I arrived on the Friday, and I met Ludonote. I said, okay, that's you. You have I will give you the game for Benoit, the other friend. But he told me that you have a prototype, and I said, oh yes. I didn't know Ludonote at the time. I knew they had made Yggdrasil, and I didn't even get to try it because of the cover. I didn't like the fighting stuff and so on. So they said okay, let's play your game. It was on the first. I had just arrived in Toulouse, and they tried the game. They played the game, Anne-Cécile and Cedrick. They were completely they had the shock, They said, oh, it's very nice, and they thought a lot about the game during the convention, and on the Saturday, it was the day after. They said, okay, you can shut the box, give the box to us, and we'll come back to our place. And we signed the contract 2 weeks later. So it was I didn't sleep in the night from the Saturday to the Sunday. It happened very, very fast. Then for 3 months we tried, and they said the funny thing is that they said afterwards that the original game, the Village, with the box and the illustrations and everything, they wouldn't have tried the game because of its look. It was very dull, and the theme, and they were not attracted a lot, and they only played because they wanted to give me some advices, and because I was doing the postman for them
So they thought they were doing something charitable then.
Exactly.
Helping a new design.
Exactly, which was nice for them because they are working a lot with the effect, the emotion. They are a lot into emotions, believe it or not. They are very friendly, and it was a great experience. And then we worked together for 3 months trying to find another story to tell, because it was one of the first, one of the few things that we had to do. When we signed the contract, they said to me, "Oh, we have some requests before. First, we have to change the theme, and then we will need to change to balance the game and so on. Do you agree?" So I said, "Okay, no problem with that." So we thought together about a new theme, and we narrowed little by little the target. And in the end, almost the same day, we said, we have to do something on this expedition, on the Lewis and Clark expedition. And then I had some new ideas to fit the theme better. So I introduced the mountains, which makes the game very different, because on the former version you had a track with money, and it was the first player to reach 50 francs. But you know the game, so when you start building your engine before the other players, you go faster and faster. So you couldn't, you couldn't catch up with the player that had built his engine faster. So with the mountain, it breaks a little bit this aspect. So it came afterwards, and then Vincent came along because Vincent Dutré was the most famous of all three. The three of us, when you look at the publisher, the designer, and the artist, Vincent Dutré was the most famous of us three, and he had worked already with Ludonot, with Chiteno, a game that didn't work that much the year before Lewis and Clark. Ludonot said to him that they were working on a game about Lewis and Clark, and Vincent said, I would be very interested in doing this thing, because he had made before some books about Sacagawea and the explorers and so on, so he knew the story. And Ludonot said, okay, but Vincent, now Chiteno didn't work that much, so we don't have that much money to give you at the moment, and so it's difficult. And Vincent said, okay, I want to do it. I don't want anybody else to do a game about Lewis and Clark. I want to do it, so I accept that. So we started with Vincent. I was completely crazy, because I knew who he was, and the game he had done before, so it was amazing. So we developed the game then. From this period, it was in the summer, something like this, summer 2012, until 1 year more. And in December 2012, I had the first sketch of the board by Vincent, and then they pushed the button to send to the production in July 2013, and then it was the craze at Essen. I discovered Essen in 2012. I went to see how it was like, because I knew about Essen. Each year I was saying, I have to go, but it's far, but I have to go, but it's very far, and so on. So I didn't have no connection, nothing. But in 2012, so I came with them, and I saw what it was like as a visitor. And then in 2013, I was behind the curtain, and this was an amazing experience. So we were sold out very quickly, and
So how did it do that first year?
How did the game do?
In terms of sales and things.
So Ludonot was a very small company at the time, and they were releasing 3,000 copies of the game. They were releasing one game per year, basically. And it was a small company, because Anne-Cécile was still Cedrick was still Cedrick and Anne-Cécile are teachers. They were high school teachers in the physics, and Cedrick was still working part-time, and Anne-Cécile left her job to create the company Ludonot. So they're a bit crazy, because they had very stable jobs. They decided to quit for their passion, to live their passion. So it was a bit crazy. So at that time, Cedrick was part-time and Cécile was in the company, but because of the first game were not very successful, they started for them 3000 was the first sprint was always of 3000. They had a little success with Yggdrasil. They made at the time they had made something like 10,000, and I had a sort of challenge saying, okay, if we make more games than Yggdrasil, I would be very, very happy. So the 3000 went sold out in the first 2 weeks after Essen, something like this, and then they didn't have no distributors that good distributors abroad, and with the success, Asmodee came around and they said, we're interested in your game, in distributing it, and Asmodee was going big in the US, and the market was growing. The demand for this game was high, and so Asmodee asked Ludonot for square boxes, a little bit, the Ticket to Ride size and so on. So that's why the format changed, and they printed, and they asked for some more, something like 3 times 10,000. So they asked for 10,000 more, and then 1 month later was 10,000 more, and so on. So with all the languages and so on. So, and now what is amazing is that this game has left something in the hobby. So I'm very proud of this, and everywhere I go now, everybody knows the game. So, and when I go in the shop, I was on holidays we were around Dublin. We went into a shop and there was my game. So that's funny. And the best thing that happened to us was that we were invited at Gen Con because of the success of Lewis & Clark in 2014. Asmodee invited us, and Ludonot paid a part of the trip charges, and so we could go to the US with my wife, and because of the game. So it was we spent a week in New York before, so we combined the trip, and so it was a dream for us to go to the US, but it's the game that triggered the trip. It was an amazing story. Yeah.
So what do you put the success of Lewis & Clark down to? Why is the game so successful?
I think because of it's because of the complementarity of us three. Because I like the German mechanics myself. I'm not into the theme that much, even if when we decided to get into Lewis & Clark, I like history myself. So I went into a lot of books about Lewis & Clark, and I like to discover what happened, and so I'm very curious. So I noted some things and so on. I was the mechanics guy, basically, even if I'm interested in history. And then Ludonot were into the story. Cedrick into the playing aspect of the game. Yeah, it has to be interesting and clear, the iconography and so on. And Cécile is more into the accessibility of the game. Sometimes we go too far into the mechanics and so on, and she said, oh no, this has to be more simple than this. It's impossible to understand, or it makes a lot of handlings and so on. And Vincent also gave a lot of, with the illustrations, a lot of ideas about how to do things, and so we were all very complementary. And I think that's what made the success at the beginning. The idea, the first spark, is very important because it makes the game it's a very different game. So to stand out of all the games that are released right now, you need something new. It had this new thing, but the way we exploited was the best way possible because of the publisher and the designer, and we got on very well. So it was we were listening to each other, and some views of what Vincent was doing, and we were in constantly working together and exchanging.
Fantastic. So one more question about Lewis & Clark. Is it for you a race game?
No. It is, but I didn't design it. I didn't design it to be first to be a race game. It's a race game, but for me it's more. It's like a worker placement game, but with some different twists. I see it, but it's a race game because it's the first to end the game. You have to be the first to reach a certain amount of goals But it combines everything. When I said the aim of the game is the first to be to reach 50. I was not thinking at this time that it was a race game, but it's because there was a VP track at the beginning, and then because of the theme, it turned it into a terrain. some spots. So it feels more like a racing game, but at the beginning it was not. It was just a VP track, and the first that reaches 50. So it was a race basically. I was not. It was not into my mind. I didn't start by designing race game. I started another. Yeah.
So why? So explain then Discoveries.
Oh.
So is Discoveries a sequel to Lewis and Clark? Is that how you see it?
Yes, I think it is. But basically, this time it's the first time I designed a game with starting from the components. I wouldn't, I like the mechanics in the game, and I said, oh no, designing game. I'm not able to design a game starting from a component. You have many designers that are doing this. One of the most famous in France is Roberto Fraga, for example. He's doing games for children or for families and so on. He always starts, most of the time I think he starts with components and material, and I said, oh, it's crazy idea, I would not be able to do this. And basically it was, I had some for Essen, the goodie was the stickers you can put on the resources, and I had some left, and I like dice games. I tried to design, I tried many times to design some dice games, and it didn't work. And this time it was on a Sunday or something like this, and I started to say, okay, let's activate the Lewis and Clark cards using dice. But on these dice, I will put the resources and the Indians and so on. So I started with this idea, and it was working quite well. And then I had the idea of you remember the mechanics with the Indians in Lewis and Clark. They don't belong to anybody, and you have to take them when it's the right moment and so on. And I had the idea. I said, okay, let's do it with the dice. And then I used a common board to bring the same kind of feeling with the game, but it was a shorter game, and it worked. And I sent that to Ludonaut straight away. I said, oh, I've got an idea, and they were very into it from the beginning. It happened very fast, and I showed them. It was at Gen Con 2014, I think. I had a lot of problems with the iconography and so on, but in the end it was working great. And then we saw Vincent at Spiel at Essen the same year, and we developed it very quickly, and we made it, and we had and they say, okay, the Ludonaut said we want to publish this game, but the first question was, do we have to keep it as a Lewis and Clark sequel, because it has nothing to do with Lewis and Clark. You have some vibes, some common things, but would it be interesting for the gamers to or for us to propose a new game with the same theme? It could be mixed up with as an expansion, which is not an expansion, which this game is not. So we decided to keep the Lewis and Clark expedition theme, because there was one thing that we didn't talk about in the first game, because there was already too many things, or a lot of things. It was the scientific aspect of the expedition. So we said, okay, it's obvious we have to keep it and finish the job. Go with the scientific discoveries. So everything clicked quite quickly. So this game, there was a high demand at the beginning from the very first print, and then it didn't work when all the reviewers and everybody played this game. Everybody liked it a lot, but afterwards the sales figure was not as good as the first Lewis and Clark, and we don't know why. And this game is more accessible. We don't know why. So
is it because it's a smaller game and people generally like to buy the bigger board?
No. I think the lighter the game is, the more gamers you can find. Basically, the market for the big games is narrower. But we don't know. Maybe it's too complicated for casual gamers, and not too. Maybe it's between.
It sits between two stools.
Yeah, exactly. We have the same expression in French. I didn't.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
So, is Lewis and Clark complete now, or will there be anything new coming out for Lewis and Clark in the future?
I would say no, but never say never. Yeah. And Vincent Dutré would like to work again on this, but it will have to start with some new ideas. And for the moment, the answer is no, but we never know.
So, as a designer, what are you working on now? So, what came out at Essen and what's coming out in the future?
Okay, so I'm still designing games, yes, but I'm sure, the success arrived very fast and very early for me. So I was very lucky, and now I'm still designing games. Most of them I show them to Ludonaut first. I'm starting now to show my prototype to other publishers. It's a little bit because it's not what you have to know is that it's not my full-time job. I've got a job that pleases me a lot, and have a family, and I have plenty of things, so I'm doing it as a hobby. I couldn't expect more. That was what happened to me with Lewis and Clark and Discovery, so I'm not in a hurry, so I don't want to disappoint the gamers as well, so I'm taking my time, and so I show them mostly to do the note, and some of them depending on the type of game, and so I'm starting to show my games to other publishers, but it's not very easy because you have to learn and to work with other people and still run. I know that I'm very compatible with Ludonaut, and I don't want to spend my time like it would if it was a difficult work and I don't do that I'm doing that for my pleasure, for my own pleasure. So I don't want to spend this time as if it was a work. Yeah, exactly. So I'm starting with I got to know now a lot of publishers, French or publishers from other countries. So I'm very happy about that. I know a lot of designers and so on. So now my next game will be I released a game we made for our daughters with a friend of mine. We've done a stupid game of it's called The Eyes, and it was published by Goliath at Essen, but it's just a fun game for children. There's nothing. I had brought a new idea in this type of game, but they removed it because it was too complicated. So the game they published it, but it's very, very simple. And my friend was doing 3D printing, so he made a lot of nice objects and good design. So it's in the shops right now with Goliath. It's called The Eyes. It's just for the kids. My next game, a part of that, will be released in 2017, and it's going to be by Matago. So I'm changing publisher, and it's a 2 players game. So I cannot. This game I developed it during the development of Lewis and Clark. I designed it, and I like it a lot. I was very happy because a 2 players game at the time was not well received by the publishers. Now things have changed, and but I found Matago is a good publisher for that kind of games. They've done Raptor. They've done many 2 players games. They have a large panel of games, so I'm still working on it. We are still dealing with the theme, even if it doesn't have any name, nor theme right now, but we are still developing it, but it should be released in 2017. But with Matago, it's quite long, so we'll see. They release many games.
This is Essen.
I don't know. I'm probably before. That's what they told me. But it's getting very slow. So it's going very slow. So I don't know right now. I cannot say much. But it's for sure. I'll have a game released by Matago probably next year.
That sounds very exciting. And so one final question before we finish. One final question. What is your design ethos? What do you want a Cedrick Chaboussit game to be?
So it's a very good question. I'm permanently thinking about this. What I like in games, basically, the games I'm oftenly associated to heavy games. Lewis and Clark is very thinkful, and you have many options and so on. But it's not the game. It's a game I play. But I play different kind of games. I'm not into heavy games only. The thing I like in games, and the thing I'm trying to do with my designs, it's the first thing, which is very important for me, is to give the players real choices. This is the first thing, and in most of the games, maybe all of them, they will be prone to AP anyway. Yeah, I have to be very careful with that. I learned it with Lewis and Clark because I really like to put players in front of impossible choices. I like that. I like that in games, saying, "Oh, I could do this. Oh, maybe this. Oh." and this and this. So it's very, very hard decisions. So this is the first thing. And the second thing, which is very important for me, is innovation. But we have to be careful with that, because the designers, when you start to design games, you are most of the time you are over innovative. You are trying to do too many new things at a time, and it doesn't work, or it's very difficult. If the games are what they are now, or the mechanics, the successful mechanics, is that it's because I think the designers have tried many things that don't work. So when you try to innovate, you're going to try again things that's been tried by designers and they don't work. So innovation now. At the beginning, I wanted to innovate a lot and so on, but now I know that innovating, sometimes it's not can be very subtle things, but that's what I'm trying to do. Real choices and innovation. That's the only interesting things, and that's what I'm looking at looking for when I'm buying new games. That's what I want to find in new games. And I don't find that very often, but I don't find that very often in games. But that's what I'm looking for. And I don't buy that many games now. I used to buy a lot of games, but I'm becoming very picky.
Fantastic. Well, Cedric, thank you very much for giving us your time. Yeah. Especially on a Sunday.
And we have to thank Tony. We have to thank Tony that brought us together at Essen. We didn't know each other before.
Tony Boydell is where everything starts and finishes.
Yeah,
so.
It was his birthday, no? Yesterday.
That's right, yesterday.
So, happy birthday, Tony.
Happy birthday, Tony. Fantastic, Cedric. And I guess I'll see you next time at Essen.
Oh, yes. For sure. Thank you, Ben.